Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamey Daddy channel. Today we're going to be talking about one of the announced changes coming to the Division 2 mentioned in the State of the Game for August 26, 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video at any point, you can hit the like button, or if you hate the video, you can hit the dislike button. Whatever you want to do, leave a comment. It will all factor into how we progress, with further conversations down the road. The Division 2 right now is most likely approaching kind of its end phase where, I believe personally that a Division 3 game or another game that, centered around this universe is probably in the works because of the size of the team that developed it and the fact that we only know of one game that they're making when they're used to making multiple games. But today's State of the Game addressed something that was very important, and that was the Rainbow Loot. Rainbow Loot system is a system where you have roles that are of diverse different kinds. So red, blue, yellow, or offensive, defensive, and utility roll on items that are more than likely being used for a specific role. So example, something like perhaps, Providence or, even maybe Hilligard rolling a bunch of red, attributes, in my opinion, necessarily seem to not make a lot of sense because Hilligard is an armor type, gear set or brand set or whatever, and rolling those red pieces kind of reduce the way you can build viably to enjoy all of what Hilligard has to offer. And so today they talked about how the percentages were going to be changed and how they intended on, implementing these changes, but it's going to come to a PTS. So I think the way they're doing it is something that I can say I appreciate. They want to kind of, get it out for testing, and then they also want people to give feedback. Well, here are the limitations though. The limitations are there are people who've actually enjoyed Rainbow Loot. They're a very small percentage, but they enjoy the fact that they have the possibility of getting roles that, allow for them to be able to build in a wide range of ways that are different from what the meta builds are. The meta builds are usually powerful and strong in the directions that they go. And some people enjoy the way it is. Some people also say they don't like the system now that's going to be introduced where they're going to change it, where you now have a higher percentage to have your first core attribute, in the case of brand sets, roll, something that's similar to the main attribute itself. And so, all these discussions are going on, and, the community seems once again divided with the change that it seemed the community was asking for. And I think this is one of those things where to be a developer in the Division community is a very difficult thing because there are so many different opinions, there's so many different preferences, and it's a little difficult or challenging to kind of figure out, where the community stands in specific situations and in most scenarios. And so it comes down to how is all of this going to really affect the game? Because even if they bring it out on a PTS, and even if they go ahead and say, okay, players are able to test this, a lot of people are not going to be able to test it. A lot of the players that play this game, are most likely playing on, on console, and PTSs, as we know for a while, have not come to console because there are so many roadblocks to having that happen. So only a fraction of the community will most likely get to give feedback. And, how are the console players able to provide feedback that will be relevant to them? So what I think I see already ahead of everything is there's going to be a dissatisfaction that's going to come off all of this. It's funny, but it's what we've had to go through, in this community over time. And, I don't know. I guess it's just so complicated because the developers right now are, putting an olive branch forward saying, this is what we want to do. We want to do what, you guys are suggesting. We want to implement it in a way that we feel like it makes sense. We also want to give you the opportunity to give feedback, but there are limitations to doing this. And so I really don't see how the community is going to be satisfied with all of this. And, at the end of the day, it just comes down to, if you're going to play a lot of the rainbow style build or the diverse build, it might be sensible for you to just go ahead and farm and, stash your items and keep them so that your sanity is in place. And then if you do not necessarily care about the changes that are coming, then you already have everything that you think you need in order to build whatever it is you want. The second thing is, if you've been pining for something like this, then you're most likely going to get it. And so you're probably going to be happy. So it's just a weird conundrum where players who have been in the system for long enough have to kind of choose what direction they want to go and prepare either way for whatever it is to come. And whatever it is to come is what we as the community have requested from the community, and they're trying to from the developer, sorry, and they're trying to implement. So I watched the state of the game today. It was very, very interesting to see how they want to implement this, because they really talked about how the percentages really did matter. But already one of the interesting things that I saw as I was watching was in the Twitch stream and the tweet chat, a lot of people were already complaining and a lot of people were saying yay. So I'm sitting there thinking, wow, here we go again. Changes that have been, a problem for the longest time in the community are now coming, but it seems like there are members of the community that are now being vocal. In my own opinion, if you want to, or if you care of my opinion, I really don't care, honestly, because the rainbow loot basically took away a lot of the fun that the game kind of had. So if you think about it, we only had very few talents basically to work with: a backpack and a chest piece talent, and then your brand bonuses. And so there's a lot of limitation with what you can do anyways. So sticking with your own role is always what has necessarily made sense for all of us. So I felt like, if you're going to actually get a role for something like Hannah U, get a role that actually works for utility in a sense. But Hannah U is also something that works well with a lot of different mix and match type of brand set bonuses. And so I think core design is really going to suffer when they implement this either way. So the way that it is implemented right now makes the core design suffer, and the way it's going to be implemented is also going to make the core design suffer. The thing that happens with this game is whenever these changes are being made, you just have to be willing to make adaptations. You just have to be willing to just change your build. You have to be willing to be flexible. And if you do that, then you will enjoy the game. And in most cases, I have not been known to be flexible or be willing to adapt. I've usually just gone, whatever. And I just kind of quit or delete my builds or delete my stash or whatever. And I just kind of go with the flow whenever I feel like playing, or maybe I just don't play for a while because the changes don't make sense. And so I don't really know where all this is going to end up because for PvE, a lot of this stuff is actually pretty cool. But again, another thing that comes into play is once all these changes are implemented, the PvP side of the game is also going to be affected. If somebody has the opportunity and the propensity to be able to go for a full blast damage build, we're most likely going to see some real OP stuff. I mean, right now, one of the developers, Bruce, has not shown up on the state of the game, but according to the developers, he's working on a lot of the PvP aspects and the changes that need to happen. So he's going to have to be crunching his numbers to ensure that, these so-called changes that they're making don't go break something in PvP. And again, that's another side of the game where we're going to get a third layer of dissatisfaction or satisfaction of some kind, which is the PvP side. Some people might welcome the change where they can go with their full glass cannon build at every rate. Some people might refuse or reject the change where they can't do that, or they don't want people to be able to do that, and, their builds or their play styles have to change or transform. But either way, it's all about adapting, like I said, and I really don't know how to even, view this whole change, because to me, I felt like the main thing that we actually did need was not necessarily these changes, to be pretty honest with you guys. I think what we really did need was content more than anything else. But yes, the rainbow loot was a problem because it was unrewarding, but I think instead of focusing on the rainbow loot, they should have focused more on bringing to the table different brand sets and even new, implementations of brand sets like people have suggested. Perhaps classified brand sets, or even more named items as, people continue to go and, progress through the game. So at the end of the day, we just have to wait and see what the PTS is. I will be happy to bring some of that coverage to you guys. Right now it's super busy. And so I'm just kind of doing my, my best to kind of keep an eye on what's going on in the community. But I appreciate you guys' support. I got to go to bed. I sound really tired because I really am. Those of you who know what I do in the daytime, you know that it's going to be a very fun time for me. But nonetheless, still a division agent always. And I appreciate you guys, as I said before. And let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Hopefully we'll see you in another video. Peace.